Welcome to another video. Today I am going to be looking at some solenoids from an automatic transmission. These are specifically from the 09G that a lot of Volkswagens use. And the reason I want to talk about these and show you an actual close-up of these solenoids is because, well, the Volkswagen that I've been working on has a jerking problem on the transmission. It works fine, and then when it gets hot, it goes into limp mode. Limp mode is basically when all the lights from the PD, reverse, and those letters light up. On this particular car, I didn't know what it was, and then I did verify that when it completely heats up and starts, if you're trying to put on the gas a little too fast, it'll just sort of slam the gear. So that's what brought me to this video, and the setup I have here is what I want to show you how I've been testing them, because I did take let me see here, this one out. I did change it because this is broken here, but I want to show you how I test the actual solenoids and what I forgot to do last time I was in there to check the other ones. So basically here I'm using a regular 12 volt 4000 milliamp battery. This is just your regular hobby batteries. It's 12 volts. I have the wires to plug into that, so just a banana plug on one side, and it's got this fitting so that I can add the clips on there. So what I do is basically plug in the red one, or positive, and leave the other one alone. And before I move on, I forgot to mention that you are going to need the cable that goes into the solenoids. The reason for that is because, yes, you can go ahead and put your clips in here, but it's gonna make it a lot harder in order for you to do that, or do the tests, and then you can actually bend the pins in there. So this is from the same old wiring that he had. When you take them out, these are very brittle, so you have to really be careful. And taking this out from each one is very hard, and you want to use this. But the problem with this is that they eventually uh, cut into the plastic, so you don't want to use that. You want to use a small flat screwdriver and then do it. So just be careful with these, as I have found out. Now, the reason you want to use this is because it just makes it easier to test, especially if you're doing it on the car like I did before. This one was broken and the wire was off, so that may have been one of the little problems that I was having. The other issue is this have a little tab that locks in really, really tight, and taking them out, you're gonna end up breaking another one like I did. Trying to figure if it's that one that I took. Yeah, I think it's this. This is the one I took out. This is the one I broke. So I was looking online to see if you could just change this, but this is part of, like, a part that goes inside of the solenoid. So you have to get another tool to get them out, because here it's just like they're pressed in there. So you can see, you can probably press it out, but you're gonna need something to press it back in there, and make that uh, impression there so that it'll stay. But this is part of that housing, so it's like a whole piece in here. So if you know where to get those, put them on the comments. I have no idea where you get them. I haven't seen them. I wanted to, before I forget, I'm just learning about this stuff right now. This is the first automatic transmission that I had to actually work on. So I'm no expert, but on a lot of videos, they're very old and you don't get a good close-up of the solenoids. So I kind of wanted to do that for you, and then also show you the other pieces or parts that I'm using. So this has a little tab on here. So what I did is cut it off so that I don't have to use a screwdriver or anything to take them out. Just put it in there and slides out. And that goes even with the ones that are not broken, like this one. So you put it in and you take it out because I already took that tab off. And it'll stay there for testing. So that's one thing that I found that's very helpful, especially if you want to test it in the car or on the car. So let's go ahead and test this solenoid right now. I'm gonna go ahead and give it some power here. These are 12 volts, so that's all I'm doing. I'm just putting the leads on the end here. And these wires are a bit heavy. And so the reason I left this one off is because this is the one I used just to make the connection, since you don't want to hold it on all the time, but you just want to test it, and this will tell you that if it's good or not. So you can hear it, but you can even see it. Let me see if I can do that for you on here. So you can see it moving there. So this is working fine, but it has a broken plug. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to see if I can mend a little piece of plastic with the soldering iron. I can't even talk to it. Anyway, so I'm not going to test every one of them because I already did that. The other test you want to do, which is the other test that I did not do when I had them off, and I should have done, is because you want to test the actual resistance on each one. I'm trying to remember what the best way to do it here is. Assuming you're in the car or on the car, under the car, so you can do one, and then the other one you can just put it through the top, so just to make it easier. So let me go ahead and set the voltmeter here to the ohms, and I'll show you that if I can grab it. I think that's not working right. There we go. So as you can see, putting the clips while in the car, it's going to be hard. It's not something you won't be able to do, but it's just going to be a little harder. So if I measure the ohms, you see it's 5.5 ohms, and all of these give me the same resistance. So let me go ahead and do another one. So you can see it's 5.6, and this was something I saw later, and since I was changing one of them, I already, it's a whole process. You gotta take all that oil out the pan. I think it just took me longer to remove everything and empty the pan and then do the testing. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to do this while I was on there to see if there were any bad ones. Let me see here. See, kind of hard trying to get well, my lead just fell, so there's not gonna be anything. I have the phone in front of me, so I can't really see anything underneath my hand here. So that's why I'm just going slow here as best as I can. So 5.5. And the reason I'm showing you this is because the problem is the electronics. That oil gets pretty hot after you're driving for a little while, even 20-30 minutes. So that's a 5.6. So that's a 5.6. So all of these have the same However, if there's a bad one, I'm assuming you're gonna get a little more resistant. The problem is if it's not hot, you may not see that. So that's where the problem that I see maybe finding out which one's the bad one. And I guess that's why they tend to change pretty much all of them at the same time. So let's go with this one here. So you can see there's a very fine mesh in there, but this was fine. These are the spared ones that I got. I took out the ones in that transmission that I'm working on. Those are clean as well, even though the oil was pretty dirty for who knows how long. I mean, there weren't any metal shavings or anything like that, but it did need changing. And I did that because I'm doing all the basic stuff before I say, yeah, it's this. You know, you're gonna have to change the whole transmission or whatnot. Obviously, we want to do that. Trying to remember. Okay, so the plug on here will not work. This is one pin. I keep forgetting. So let me show you here. So we want to grab the pin. Well, not the pin. I'll just put it in there so it'll touch. And then either way, it's going to be fine. I'll just grab that. I'll put this on here. And just want to show you that you can test it the same way as the others. And even see it in there if it moves. I'm too close to the camera, so it's hard for me to see it. But anyway, as you can see, I tested them all. They all function. And the resistance is the same on these. So let's check the resistance on those. Let me see if I can go ahead and do that. Okay, this is the wrong one. I don't remember checking these, but we'll do that right now. See what we got. So you should be able to do the same thing. Now, let me get rid of that. Just makes it harder. So I'm going to go ahead and touch the pen and let's see what we get on the multimeter. I can get to it. There we go. So this is 12.5 ohms. 12.4 for these. So let's look at the other one. As you can see, the mesh is the same. These are exactly the same, so they're definitely interchangeable from what I can tell. And you get 12.5 on this one, or 12.4 on this one as well. So those are the two measurements that you do want to make. And I only did the power on each one. I mean, I know they work, but you want to do the resistance one because if the internals are bad, then you'll definitely get some different reading, assuming it doesn't need to be hot. I mean, if it's bad, it's bad. I just don't know because I haven't got to testing the resistance on the ones in the in the car for now. And let's take a look at this one. This is the one that with the special cut on here, doesn't have the band. This is the one that was all the way on the right side, I believe it was. In any case, the transmission currently has a small body uh, solenoids. Apparently somebody, I guess, tried or did change them, but they left this one in there because they couldn't take it out. You literally have to bring down the whole solenoid body in order to change the last one. The last one was the one that was broken and they didn't do it. So that's where I found that after I went in there the second time. So I went ahead and brought everything down, changed it to the spared one that I had. This one is still working, but it's broken. So, like I said, I'm gonna try and see if I can fix that with the iron and some plastic. Um, and hopefully, maybe the resistance will tell me which one's bad. If not, my other option is to just change them all to from what I have and see if that fixes or hopefully fixes that problem, because a lot of videos tell you that it's the solenoids. A lot of, well, not a lot, but I saw a couple of them where they did the whole valve body and they still had the same problem. So it's one of those things. It could be these, or it could be the wiring, or it could be one other sensor, or it could be the clutches. They're finally gone, but the transmission has been good, and it's just that shifting. So that's pointing to either one of these or a couple of these. I personally don't know which one goes where, because if you look at them, they're very similar, but not quite. Some of them are. For example, let me look at that one. Was it? No, I think it was this one, the one that was in there. Not that one. So the previous version I had, or the spare I had, was like this one. And when I went to look for the new ones, it was exactly that one, the one I had. But in there, they had this one, which is very different on the holes from the other one that I put in there. Transmission is doing the same exact thing. It hasn't changed. It hasn't done anything worse or less or anything. But I know I have the right or correct one now. This have I don't know if it matters. I mean, I'm sure it does, because this was sort of, wait, this one had three holes and the other one only has two, like this one, I believe. And that was the biggest difference. So I thought maybe because it wasn't really plugged in there, or they had a different one, maybe that would be a problem. Well, I already know that that's not it, because I already changed it. So I will be going back in there and doing the resistance testing before I take anything out. I can't emphasize this enough. Just be careful with using this, because you break this and you have a good relay, but your connection is bad, and that's not what you want, because this thing's actually locked very tight once you put them in there. And that's the part I hate, taking them out. So I'll just use a screwdriver, a little screwdriver, instead of the sharp one. You go in here, you can try to, well, normally if you go this way, it's easier to get them out. But if not, you can just put a screwdriver here and just tap it with another one. And I was able to get them out like that, but that's how I also broke that one. So it's just one of those things. That's why I was asking if anybody knows where you can buy these. However, the tool for putting this back together is not cheap. It's just a piece of metal tube. I mean, they have different ways of doing it. But when the guys were taking them apart, seemed like there's a cup here, but it's kind of hard to tell because there are no close-ups. Like right now, you can see it. Let's see here. There we go. So that's a close-up of that, and that's the back. Some just cut them because there's a kit that's also expensive. So that's a no-go, at least for somebody who's just learning about this stuff, and you're not gonna be doing it as an everyday thing or everyday job. I just want to learn about this transmission, because this transmission is actually pretty interesting. I mean, you can manually, also semi-manually, change your gears. So when the transmission goes on limp mode, you have to turn it off to reset it and turn it back on. But then it doesn't leave you stranded. You can move the gear to the right and shift manually. However, getting used to that way the transmission changes is a little getting used to it, because if you do it too fast, you'll feel the jerking. If you do it too slow, it's the same thing. Anyways, you can move to the right and get to your destination, with the manual gearing. It's like a manual, but without a clutch, which is kind of neat. So that's what got me interested in this particular transmission. It's just something that was in the car. So that's why I'm taking a look at it. I know I've gone quite a bit on here, but I wanted to really show you this part and the wiring. And as you can see, here's the rest of the wiring that came with it. And these things could be bad, but like unless it's broken, then you should be okay. However, the wires are pretty uh thick, not thick, but stiff. Here, let me show you what they look like right there. These are what the wires look like on these connectors. So most likely you hopefully won't have a problem with the wires, and it's just something like this, which I'm hoping, but you never know. It's you get something used, and you may get something that works or something that doesn't work. And apparently this is a very common issue on this transmission, so I hope this helps a little bit for anyone looking at something like this, since all the videos on this particular type of transmissions are a few years old. They still apply, and they were very helpful in at least getting me to this point where I can get some spares and look at them and learn what not to do. So far you can see they move fine, so I don't think that there's anything in there when you put power on them. So I'm hoping it's just one bag, but that only happens when it heats up. So heat and electronics, as you may or may not know, they don't go together too well. So a lot of times heat will just cause a problem with the electronics, especially if it's been there for a long time. So the other thing is, like I said, the bodies. The ones in there are smaller bodies. These are like the larger body, I guess that they call it. And so I have both. I have these sets and I have the other ones in the car. I don't know. I don't think it makes a difference, in what's better or worse. I just, you just gotta have the right one in there, and you gotta make sure it's not bad, I guess. That's the only way I can test them right now, because I don't have any other tools to open them up and change this or get these, because I don't know who sells them or where. But again, if you do know, let me know. I mean, because this whole plug has to come out. It's got like a ring on the bottom there that comes out, so you have to change all that. I mean, the solenoids is can be something pretty hard to break, because they're metal, and they're pretty solid. But the electronics, obviously, that's gonna give you a problem. So with nothing else that I can think of, I'm gonna leave this video here, because I know I already went pretty long. But so this is my test setup and what I definitely found to be more helpful in order to do it. Anyways, until the next one, I'll see you guys later.